Many of you complain often and with good reason, good justification, that we don't cover the South as much as we do the rest of India, particularly when it comes to politics. So we seem, as you complain, or many of you complain quite rightly, more caught up, say, with the heartland politics, or politics of Maharashtra, etc., or West Bengal, not so much of the South. Now, possibly that could be because South's politics has been rather stable compared to many of these other more newsy states. But let me not find excuses. What you are saying is correct, and we have to try and rectify it. So, what better day to rectify it when we are analyzing the aftermath of the Prime Minister's visit to the South? Prime Minister has lately been in the South, particularly in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And while he's been there, he's sent out many signals. Now, before I analyze those signals for you and what these mean and what is it that he's hinting at and what is it he's targeting, let me first tell you one thing that I've said before also, and I will say again and again, which is that in Hindi, there is a saying that if you ask a starving person, what is 2 plus 2? The starving person will most likely say 4 rotis, because the starving person only thinks of food. Similarly, for the BJP, particularly this BJP, the Modi-Shah BJP, if you ask them what is 2 plus 2, chances are, this is all metaphorical, that they will say 4 votes. 2 plus 2 is 4 votes, because they always think votes. And you know what? For people so caught up and so committed to maximizing their vote share, when they look at the map of India and when they look at the states in the South, this is key states: Telangana, Andhra, Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. That is 5 states in the South. They find that they have very little representation there. Obviously, they don't like it and they want to rectify it. So how little they have? See the table on the chart. See the map on the chart, map of these 5 southern states. So this part of peninsular India, and in each one, we'll see the number of MPs and MLAs that the BJP has. Just for me to do a simple count for you, for MPs, out of the 130 MPs that come from these states, BJP has only 29, of which also 25 come from Karnataka and 4 comes from Telangana. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Pondicherry, nothing. Zilch. Obviously, BJP doesn't like it and wants to change it. Again, if you look at the MLAs, these 5 states have 923 MLAs, of which the BJP only has 135. Out of this also, 122 are only in Karnataka. So Karnataka is a state that BJP rules now, has ruled before. I'll give you some idea as to when that growth started and how it started and what led to it. But the fact is, in the rest of the South, BJP has very little. So as I said, 122 MLAs in Karnataka. That's after all the defectors who left JDS, etc., won their bypolls and came back as BJP candidates, elected BJP MLAs. They have 122 there. Besides that, in Telangana, out of 119, Telangana is a smaller state, it's a Punjab-sized state. They have 3 MLAs. Of these also, only 1 had won in the 2018 elections. Out of 119, only 1. After that, BJP has been able to win 2 by-elections in Telangana, and that's very significant. In 2020, they won the Dubakka Assembly bypoll, and then after that, in 2021 November, they won the Huzurabad bypoll. So these bypoll victories show that BJP is rising in Telangana. Also, in Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, BJP finished number 2nd, way ahead of Congress, etc., which used to be the number 2 party in the past. So out of 150 seats in Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, BJP won 48 wards. That tells you that it is now becoming the main challenger to KCR's TRS in Telangana. And that is the reason the BJP held their national executive meeting in Hyderabad, because BJP thinks politically all the time. Their next target is Telangana in the south, but it's also to increase their overall footprint in the south. Now, BJP has been looking for quote-unquote talent wherever it's available. So 2018, Itala Rajender, who was in TRS, KCR's party, he had won the election in Huzurabad poll by a wide margin. In fact, the BJP then had done so badly that it had even got fewer votes than Nota. Nota got 1700 votes, BJP got even less. So what happened? Itala Rajender, who was a minister in KCR's cabinet, he got a bit disgruntled and possibly BJP worked on him like they worked on Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra, got him to leave KCR's party, got him to join the BJP, and that BJP won that by-election with the same guy, Itala Rajender, as their candidate by more than 1 lakh votes. So this is a party that did not even get 1700 votes that Nota got, now won the same seat by more than 1 lakh votes. Why? Because they imported or they got secured the defection of the same candidate who had won this seat by a good margin for TRS. So Telangana is something that BJP is walking into, and they think they're certainly the number 2 party now and the main challenger for KCR, and that's why you find KCR now speaking very harshly against the BJP. You also saw KCR not coming to airport to receive Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That was not the situation in Andhra Pradesh, where the Prime Minister went out afterwards. So in Andhra Pradesh, the Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy of YSRCP, he is quite friendly with the BJP and likes to keep BJP on the right side. So he gave a very warm and very effusive welcome to the Prime Minister, was also seen at public events with him. Now, look at the states of the South. If you look at the states of the South, what are the BJP's prospects? How did the BJP win in Karnataka? In Karnataka, until the 80s, BJP was non-existent. Congress party used to win all the time in Karnataka quite easily. Karnataka and Andhra were states that Congress party used to sweep. They took them for granted. In fact, even after the emergency, when Indira Gandhi got wiped out in the Hindi heartland north and the west, it was the south that still kept her party together. So she still got a large number of seats. In fact, she swept the south. And later also, when she needed to either have by-elections or find a second seat, she would go to the south. Indira Gandhi had gone to Medak, to Chikmagalur, Sonia Gandhi to Bellary. So these were really Congress party strongholds. Slowly, the BJP increased its hold in Karnataka. And a bunch of things happened there that enabled BJP to do that. First of all, BJP, while they were working on it and Yediyurappa was rising, in 1983, Yediyurappa won his election for the first time. He's from the Lingayat caste. Lingayat caste is a very important caste group in Karnataka. So he was then a younger man, younger Lingayat leader, and he rose in that election in 1983. BJP won 18 seats in a house of 225. Now, 18 seats doesn't count for very much, but remember, when there is a hung assembly, small parties or smaller groups have a lot of value. So BJP, with its 18 seats in 1983, was able to help Janata Party form a government. And that became the first non-Congress government in the history of Karnataka. So see how the BJP used its political smarts and also the Janata Party to get into power, even if as a smaller partner. Later, in 1990, the big change came. In 1990, it was when Rajiv Gandhi publicly humiliated Virendra Patil, who was his party's chief minister. He had a stroke. Karnataka had communal riots. Rajiv Gandhi was furious. So he sacked him very unceremoniously. The truth is that Virendra Patil never recovered from it, sort of wasted away and died. And remember, Virendra Patil was a Lingayat leader. So the Lingayats since then have not forgiven the Congress party, and Lingayats since then have voted en bloc for the BJP. That's why the BJP chief ministers, first it was Yediyurappa, and then now it is Basavaraj Bommai, the son of S.R. Bommai. Generally, BJP will fall back on Lingayat leaders. They've had a couple of other short-term chief ministers, but generally they will fall back on Lingayats in Karnataka. So they built that Lingayat base, and from then on, they used Hindutva, they used polarization, and they become the dominant party in Karnataka. Now they have to look at the other states. If you look at Kerala, BJP faces a tough situation there in the sense that, and this is important to listen to all this or follow all this, because then we'll be able to analyze Prime Minister's political messages, particularly in his speech in Hyderabad, better. Because Kerala is polarized between two coalitions, that is LDF, Left Democratic Alliance, and UDF, that is the Congress party-led United Democratic Alliance. Now, UDF's strength lies in the fact that besides other voters that Congress gets, particularly lower caste, etc., this also gets en bloc the votes of the Muslims and the Christians. That's because traditionally the Muslim party, which is Muslim League, IUML, Indian Union Muslim League, that's been part of UDF. In the past, Kerala Congress, which represented the Christians, remained a part of the UDF, and even now Christian groups and Christian parties, Christian politicians, Christian voters are with UDF. So BJP has not been able to find any purchase in Kerala. Right now they have a blank in the assembly. So the only hope for them is, or at least one possibility for them is, to drive a wedge or polarize Christians and Muslims. And there have been some issues between Christians and Muslims. We've seen some Christian pastors also complaining that Muslims are indulging in love jihad or drug jihad, narcotic jihad, etc. So BJP is reaching out to some Christian groups there. That's why one of the messages in the Prime Minister's Hyderabad speech was to the Christians in the BJP in the Northeast. And he said, please all of you should go to Kerala and tell the Christians of Kerala how well Christians are doing, how safe they are under the BJP in the northeastern states. In fact, a leader of the BJP told Neelam Pandey, my colleague from our political bureau, he told her that the idea is to hold some kind of a conclave now in Kerala, where Christian leaders of the BJP from the northeast come, probably also from Goa, and convince the Christians of Kerala that they are okay, BJP is not hostile to them. This at a time where Pinarayi Vijayan, the left chief minister of Kerala, has been accusing the BJP of attacking the Christians. So that is one strategic outreach. BJP will not win power easily, but everybody in this country tries to get Congress party's vote away, and which is what the BJP is trying to do in Kerala. Now, again, all the southern states have sizable Muslim votes. Telangana and Kerala, of course, but also Tamil Nadu and Andhra. Now, at the same time, there is Muslim vote elsewhere in the country also. So far, BJP has been winning without any Muslim vote. Now, what did the Prime Minister try doing in his speech in Hyderabad? Now, he has asked his party people to go out and connect with the deprived sections among non-Hindus. What does that mean? If you do a political translation of this, what it means is reach out to Pasmanda Muslims. Now, Pasmanda is the Persian for people who've got left behind. You can say backward, you can say lower caste. There is caste. I mean, Islam may be a casteless society, but people can never leave their caste behind in India. So Muslims, so one is the Ashraf, which is about 15% of Muslim population in India, and one is the Pasmandas, who are 85%. Now, Pasmandas are former OBCs, former Dalit, scheduled castes, etc. Now, if you see the record of Indian politics, if you look at Indian Parliament, and there is some analysis of Indian Parliament's numbers of Muslim MPs up to, say, the 14th Lok Sabha, there, of the 400 Muslim MPs, only 60 have been Pasmandas, and the rest, 360, have been Ashraf. So what happens here? 15% of the MPs since independence until 14th Lok Sabha have been Pasmanda, while their population is 85% among the Muslims. Whereas 85% of the MPs until the 14th Lok Sabha have been Ashraf, while their numbers are only 15%. So that is what Narendra Modi is driving at. And he is then giving out a signal. I'm not sure it works, but in politics, everybody tries. He's giving out a signal to these Pasmanda Muslims that, look, you are being left out. Muslim elites are from another category, and you've got left out, just as lower caste had got left out among the Hindus. At another level, this is a message to the secular parties that if you can use caste to divide the Hindu vote, I will also try and use caste to divide the Muslim vote. So that's the next big message that he's given out in his speech. Now, his Christian outreach we have seen so far. He appointed KJ Alphonse as a minister in 2017. Now, just lately, just last year, January 2021, he's appointed John Barla, who's a tribal Christian leader, first time MP from West Bengal, as a Minister of State from Minority Affairs. Now, these are important signals. Again, I will share with you an article from the July 2021 issue of Organizer Weekly, that's the RSS's weekly, which talks about Prime Minister meeting important Christian cardinals. That is all Catholic cardinals, that is Cardinal Oswald Gracias of the Latin Rite Church, Cardinal George Allen Cherry, who is the major Archbishop of the Syrian Malabar Church, and Cardinal Basilio Clemes of the Syro-Malankara Church. So this tells you that there is a strong outreach. There's a strong outreach to Christians. Again, in Nagaland, the Deputy Chief Minister is from the BJP, Mr. Y. Patton, and he also is a Christian. Now, in the middle of all this, Prime Minister also went to Andhra, as we said. And what did he do in Andhra? In Andhra, he inaugurated the statue, a 30-foot bronze statue in West Godavari district of Alluri Sitarama Raju. Now, Alluri Sitarama Raju was a leader of the tribals, but he was not a tribal himself. He was a Kshatriya. He was like a Rajput. So what is the Prime Minister doing? He's trying to strike two birds with one stone. This is an appeal to the tribals because Alluri Sitarama Raju is seen as a great tribal hero. He's called Manyam Virudu, which in Telugu it roughly translates to hero of the forests. Please see a story on this by my colleague Rishika Sadam. I will share a link with you. You will see a screenshot also that describes his legend. Now the BJP, what they've done very smartly is that as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75th anniversary of independence, they've researched and listed a lot of the unsung heroes. We know the idea here is to also fight the impression that only Nehru, Gandhi, etc., Patel got India the independence, maybe Bhagat Singh and maybe a couple of others, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. They are trying to spread it out. So he's among those. So he's gone, he's praised him. Obviously, he sang his praises. He said he was a great hero. Not too many people know too much about him. He also announced many welfare plans for the tribals there, for the tribal people in Andhra Pradesh. In Telugu, he is known as Manyam Virudu, which loosely translates into hero of the forests, because he organized the tribals to carry out guerrilla warfare against the British until 1924. He was born in 1897 until 1924, when he was captured and killed by the British. And finally, Tamil Nadu. We haven't seen a major move from the BJP in Tamil Nadu because you know what? They are biding their time. They are biding their time because their allies, which is AIADMK, they are fighting amongst themselves. So EPS and OPS, and once again I'm sharing with you a story that Soumya Ashok, our colleague, our correspondent in Chennai has done. Please see that story, see the screenshot also, that the two leaders there, that is EPS, the former chief minister, that is Edapadi Palaniswamy, and OPS, as he's called, O Selvam. They've been fighting for control of the party, a dominant control of the party. And EPS, it looks like, is getting the better of the other fellow because he's now even trying to bring back the rule or the law or the principle that his party had earlier, which had effectively made Jayalalitha its eternal leader. So he wants to become the eternal leader, and there might be a split. So BJP is watching because BJP knows right now that they might have 3 MLAs there. They were partners with ADMK, but they are very far away from power. So right now, their effort is to try and become the largest national party there, beating the Congress parties. Once again, this visit to two southern states by the Prime Minister gives us the occasion to look at BJP's plans as they unfold in the five southern states, where 130 parliament seats and 923 state assembly seats are at stake.